Hey, so yesterday I released a video where I explained to you what my plan was for how to win the first game of the Spanish Championships. This is going to be the video where I explain what actually happened. So let's go. Um, just a sec. Right. So this is game one of the Spanish Championships 2024. We arrived at the venue and there was a lot of people. I think we were 76 players or something like that. In all, there were 80 places, but there's always a few guys that drops out, right? So there was a lot of people. There was a lot of tables. I think one table was not in use at the end, but and that many tables, it does become difficult to have enough terrain for them. And the tables were fairly open from what I'm used to anyway. But some people, when I posted the pictures online, were like, "Oh, they're open," and "Oh, that sucks," and terrible tournament terrain. And it didn't feel like that when you were playing on them. And it felt sort of okay. Most of them felt sort of okay, and had interesting challenges, all of them. So yeah, the first game was top secret. I had prepared for this. I was faced off against Mo, and Mo had a 13 organized German list, so I was fairly confident that I knew what was going to happen. I'd even played 2 or 3 games against the list here, having some of my regular training partners play his list. It had a heavy Panzer with the medium anti-tank gun. It had a Puma with a medium anti-tank gun. It had 3 units of regulars. One of them had some machine guns, and the other 2 had an LMG in them. It had a Pioneer truck. It had a howitzer. It had a bunch of small teams. 13 order dice. So the order dice was low, and it wasn't terribly mobile. And I knew that that was going to be a problem for him going into top secret. I was, of course, playing my Brits, 16 order dice, up and at 'em, 5 Gurkhas. Yes, I know I'm a terrible person. A Steward, the LVT, because I gotta. 3 early war motorcycles, a land mattress, because the Spanish had allowed everything that was in Easy Army. It was just easier for the newer players just to use Easy Army, and that's it. Everything there goes. I had a medium mortar, inexperienced, of course, a flamethrower in a jeep, and that was sort of my list, 16 order dice. So the objectives were the yellow one that you see here was the top secret objective that could be picked up and moved, and the black one was then the secondary objective that was worth 10 extra kill points after determining the winner. So for like if you needed to compare people who had won all their games at the end of the tournament, so for Swiss purposes, right? Now, go and watch my video on how I planned for this. The plan was always going to be to move along this blue line into the area between the 2 objectives. Because my opponent had fewer dice than me, I had a potential for doing a Russian doll, which I set up in order to, like, if I get the last 2 order dice of the game, I'll do a Russian doll where I move 1 unit up the jeep with a flamethrower in it, and then run out of that and grab the yellow objective. And then next turn, I'm still ahead on dice. I might get the first one, run back, and be safe. So I set up for that. But the main idea was to push as many Gurkhas as I could, as many of my veterans, in between these pyramids, in between the 2 objectives that you see here. And then start boxing. Start killing his units. Start taking out stuff that he needs in order to win. The only thing that was difficult was that if you look here on my side of the board, this picture is taken from my side of the board, and I actually got to choose the side. The only thing that was difficult was that there was no obvious place to place my LVT and my Steward. There was a very little forest here. Let's see if I can mark it out. This one here, which I ended up driving my Steward into just to get myself soft cover. But the LVT had nowhere to go. So the infantry all went out. Now, my opponent was unfortunate enough to have me win the side, and I gave him the one where the river was there. We had already agreed that the river was rough ground, but you could move across it. So he had a difficult time getting up to the objective, and I knew this. Now, as for the game itself, I absolutely stuck to my plan. First turn, because I had more order dice than him, I wasted a lot of dice just doing not important stuff. He had to come on. He ran his pioneer truck up here. I immediately countered by moving my steward in, shot the pioneer truck, killed it. The engineers went out. He was now blocked. He was down. He couldn't do anything. He was pinned to bits. His infantry mostly moved up towards the black objective, whereas his artillery, sniper, mortar, all of that ended up over here near the house and the forest, which I was very happy about because that did give him a lot of line of sight into the center of the board, but it also meant that a lot of my artillery could just be placed down where he couldn't get to me, either behind this forest over here, which I did. I placed, I think it was my multi-launcher down here somewhere. And the LVT also ended up here. There was a ruin over there that I could move it up to. I had also wasted quite a lot of time placing down motorbikes here on the flank, which over the game just ran up along the flank, had positions here in the center of the board, and then finally here in his own deployment zone, just because there was nothing there to stop me. So I was just moving up, shooting, delivering pins and casualties. Now, first turn, last two order dice on mine, I knew I had won. I basically knew I had won. There was very little he could do to stop me. I move up my jeep. I get out my... oh, he didn't have a sniper, by the way. He did not have a sniper. I get out my my flamer. I'm on the objective. Next turn starts. And by the way, like 12 inches behind that, I had a unit of Gurkhas ready, just waiting. So the flamer runs back, hands over the objective. I then don't get the second order dice the next turn. He shoots at the Gurkhas that now have the objective, doesn't kill them. I run the Gurkhas out, and now I am 5 points ahead. And that at that point, I knew I'd won. Mo could do very little, and he did what he could. He had to try and get kill points from me, so he had to try and attack. He did so. He mainly attacked up towards the black objective, including one very nice moment where he ran his Puma straight through all my Gurkhas, killing one unit because it had so many pins. But to no avail. So what decided the game? I obviously won it. I won it massively. I took both objectives, both the secondary and the primary objective. I think I lost 4 order dice and he lost 8 or 9, something like that. So I was very much ahead. So for me, I think I had a plan, and that plan meant that I was ahead very quickly. Turn 2, I had actually won the game. Turn 2, I had the right side, so I picked the right side. It could have worked still, going on the other side. It still could have worked. The same thing could have happened, but maybe a little bit more difficult. I might have had to do more of a Russian doll, right? I had the order dice on my side as well, so that's 3 things that went in my favor. All of that, I typically say, if you have 3 things like that in your favor, the right side, the right plan, the right order dice, then you win. I also had the units for that kind of game where I could just take whatever he threw at me, and if he still wanted to come up, I could still respond. Like Gurkhas, up and at him, that simply works. Now, there was also one key moment. Remember, I said his Puma had driven all the way up here. It had hidden behind his house. My steward was in this forest. He was ready to go. If he got the first order dice turn 5, 6, I think, then his Puma would move out and shoot me with a medium anti-tank gun, and I was most likely dead. He was gonna get a side shot. I got the first order dice, and I immediately went on ambush. Anti-tank round into the steward, sitting there waiting for the Puma. Now he had a difficult choice, because he still needed to win. He still needed all the dice. He was so far behind at that point. He still needed to do something desperate, so he drove out the puma, and it ran straight into an ambush, and I killed it. One shot, boom, dead. So I think for his from his perspective, he had the wrong side. He had the wrong list as well. And I think he only made like one minor mistake, because as soon as we were in turn 2, there was very little he could do at that point. He did whatever he could. The tank assault was an especially good move. But, I mean, the only mistake I think he made was he was rushing towards the objectives with what is essentially camping Germans. So Germans that want to sit at range. He had double medium AT guns. I think he should have sat at range. And I think he should have had a sniper. I don't think he had one. That sniper could have killed my flamer when I tried to run it. It could have killed the Gurkha with the objective, making me wait another turn, giving him more time to work on me. Rushing towards the center of the board with Germans that want to sit at range is a bad idea. But he was also forced to do that. So that was the first game of the Spanish Nationals. At that point, I was pretty happy with myself. This was mostly down to list and planning. I had just executed the plan. There was no flaws in it. It absolutely worked. Dice, I wasn't especially lucky. I wasn't especially unlucky. Everything happened the way it should because of the plan. That was my assessment of the game anyway. So, yeah. So going into turn 2, I might draw someone who's good, but I was pretty confident because there would be 35, 40 players who had one win, and I would be among them, so that was always good. So I'll see you when I talk about the next game in a couple of days. Yeah. Cheers.